William Hung, champion by choice. We're going to be going to chapter 2, My Beginning. My mother was born in what was then Burma, now known as Myanmar. Like many of the inhabitants, she was born into poverty, along with her 5 brothers and sisters. When she was still a child, the family moved to Macau. She and her family survived on a daily diet of 2 cans of meat, or sardines, a duck egg, and rice, as she played with discarded dolls and bottle caps. My father also grew up poor in Macau. Macau was next to Hong Kong and Guizhou in mainland China. He was one of 11 children, and as a child he worked on farms, picking vegetables and helping his mother sell them. He eventually went to vocational school and became a jewelry model maker, a far less lucrative profession than designing the jewelry, and he supplemented his income by driving a taxi. It was in Hong Kong that he met my mother. She went there after finishing school to get a job as a cashier. She also went there in search of a husband. Long story short, they got married and had a child, William Hung. I recall them bickering often as I grew up. He would sometimes lose his cool and blow up. Then she would say he wasn't sensitive to her feelings and tell them she only married him because they shared a traditional mindset. That's true for the most part. My mother was very conservative, and she wanted me to earn good grades, go to college, get a respectable job. My father, meanwhile, took a more liberal approach, urging me to be realistic in my goals. There's a subtle but important difference because my dad was okay with me choosing a career and life that was not the norm. He just wanted me to figure out how I could thrive in whatever career I chose. Divorce, for them, was never really an option. As in the Chinese tradition, it isn't considered disgraceful to the entire family. The only way she would divorce her husband, my mother said, was if he were to lose all their money gambling, physically beating her, or cheating on her. So I witnessed their fights without solace of a sibling's shoulder to lean on. Siblings can be confidants in a way that parents simply can't, regardless of the strength of the relationship. Communicating my innermost feelings doesn't come naturally for me. I've tended to rely on close, trusted friends when sharing my emotions. One thing I always shared with my parents, however, was a passion for singing. When I was 10 and living in Hong Kong, they used to take me to lunch on weekends. They would sing karaoke. I loved the 4 Heavenly Kings, Leon Lai, Jackie Chung. Mahalo for the host, Lone Wolf. Thank you so much. Aaron Kwok and Andy Lau. For the benefit of Lone Wolf, who's just popped into the chat, we're reading William Hung's Champion by Choice. Aloha, Peace Dog, welcome in. We're currently learning about his childhood. He is the only child, 2 parents. His parents met in Hong Kong, and yeah, they had him there. And they were not a family that was doing particularly well in terms of emotionally, but still, that's what it is. I'm doing quite good, Lone Wolf. We are reading William Hung's Champion by Choice autobiography, and I'm enjoying it so far. Back to the book. I also enjoyed playing video games. In fact, it was with video games that I felt a competitive spark. Arcade games were all the rage back then. I'd wait my turn at the machine like everyone else. When my turn came, I never wanted it to stop, and that desire drove me to improve my game. If I lost a life, I'd have to get into the back of the line, so I got very good at staying alive. It was also a chance to impress my peers, of course, and in time I was able to defeat the game on a single run without losing a single life. Later that year, in 1993, we moved to America. My parents and I moved to Hershey, Pennsylvania because my dad got a job offer there. Unfortunately, my dad got laid off after just 6 short months, and we moved to Los Angeles, California. My dad got a much better job there, and my parents were happier because they could connect with the Chinese community. They could go to Chinese cultural events, enjoy Chinese food, and listen to news from Hong Kong on the mainland, China. As for me, the biggest challenge was communicating fluently in English. I remember I was in the 4th grade and hooked on the Super Nintendo, and I felt the same competitive spark that I had back in Hong Kong. Soon after, I heard on the news that Blockbuster Video was holding a Donkey Kong Country tournament. That started my journey into competitive entertainment. I took 6th place locally, not bad, and I also learned that there were competitive video games out there. After the competition, I realized I didn't have that same urge to be the best. I just wanted to have fun. Simon Cowell's mean-spirited comments weren't the only experience that I had with bullies. Prior to that, I faced worse than a few unkind words. That's why I was able to take it in stride. Back in middle school, there was a kid who didn't like me. I don't know why, but from the first day of class, he had it out for me. I remember he would stare me down and then point at me and laugh. That's hard to cope with when you're someone trying to assimilate to a new country, and I felt that life was unfair. I kept thinking, why me? What did I do wrong to the other people? But it got worse. One day he punched me in the arm. I hadn't done anything to deserve it, so I hit him back. Our melee drew the teacher's attention, and we stopped. Of course, I didn't want to escalate the problem, so I ignored the kid, hoping that that would be the end of it. But it wasn't. At lunch, he found me and punched me right in the eye, so hard that I felt dizzy. Out of my left eye, I saw him, my bully. I thought I would be blind in the right eye for the rest of my life. I couldn't open my eye for several hours, and I thought that my life would be over. No. Lone Wolf wrote something amazing. Acupuncture. That's awesome. I've heard great things about acupuncture. One of my Weight Watchers coaches is doing it. That is awesome. Pain is gone. You have so much more energy. That is awesome. I'm hoping it continues for you as well. Because remember, not being sad isn't the same as being happy. I explained what happened to my parents, who complained to the principal. When he opted to suspend the boy for 3 days, my parents were livid. What? You only gave him a 3-day suspension? What if my son had hit back? Would he have gotten a 3-day suspension? The principal told them they could call the police if they didn't like it. With that, my mother went to the Los Angeles Unified School District School Board to plead her case to allow me to switch schools. And that's what I did. That wasn't the end of bullying, but at least I never got sucker punched again. I remember that my graphic calculator was stolen, and that I was pushed out of the food line and had to get one of the teachers to make things right. These events made it hard for me to trust any of my classmates. If I learned anything from the pain of those formative years, it was that not everyone you meet is going to like you, and sometimes for no good reason. I thought there'd be more to that sentence. It was that not everyone you meet is going to like you, and sometimes for no good reason. But you can't let it stop you. It's hard enough being an only child when you're an only child who gets bullied. You lack an enforcer, or at very least, an ally. The incident scarred my childhood, and as a result, I put my trust in my fellow students. Not in my fellow students, but in my teachers. Although I had a few friends, I felt I could be generally close to only to adults like my parents and the teachers. I felt much more comfortable sharing my ambitions and my vision for the future with them. My lasting memory from high school, much like my lasting memory of my burst onto the national stage, is bittersweet. I was in math and science magnet program at Francis Polytech High School in Sun Valley. I was good at math, but I had to work extra hard to be good at science compared to most of the students. To compensate, I gave up a lot of fun activities after school and on weekends in order to study. To make matters worse, the teacher was less than helpful. I relied on the AP exam book, a thick 500-page manual filled with the chemistry minutia to figure things out. Eventually, all my hard work paid off when I was the only person in my class who passed the AP chemistry exam. I earned college credit and I never had to take chemistry again. After I learned about a team competition called the Science Bowl. It was a trivia competition hosted by LA's Water and Power Department that covered the disciplines of math, chemistry, astronomy, physics, computer science, and earth sciences. My role was to focus on math, chemistry, and earth sciences, my strong subjects. Our team did well by going 5-0 in the round-robin format and earning us a spot in the semifinals. That meant we would be televised. And if you think I bombed on American Idol, you didn't see my performance at the Science Bowl. I'm sure he did good. My brain shut down. For the life of me, I couldn't answer a single question correctly. During the preliminary rounds, I've been able to answer some of the questions from my strong subjects very quickly, within 2 to 5 seconds, once I knew what they were asking for. But in the final round, only my teammates were able to answer some of the questions correctly, so that made me feel like I was dead weight for the entire team. It was absolutely humiliating, and though I didn't know at the time, a preview of the things to come. But just like the experience with the bully, this embarrassing failure positioned me well for handling my next televised disaster. Being named on local TV as the worst singer ever by a news anchor might have stung more if I had not already taken my licks and learned to cope. The experience helped me prepare for future meltdowns, but it also gave me a more interesting way to do some extra studying. I put in more time and effort than I normally would have. The Donkey Kong Country competition that I had lost so many years earlier was suddenly paying dividends. The competitive drive it sparked during my childhood resulted in me earning valedictorian honors and ultimately an offer to attend UC Berkeley, among other universities. That competitive nature I discovered while playing an arcade game ultimately got me into my college of choice. I may have lost the video game competition, but my passionate striving resulted in greater rewards down the line. So too, I may have lost the Science Bowl competition, and in face planting fashion, but I learned how to get back up after a humiliating knockdown, which altered the trajectory of my life. The next chapter is called The Dream Life,